Hello, and welcome to this podcast episode, the Guitar and Improvisation podcast. Today we're going to talk about Solar, the changes to that, and the form. But before we go into that, I'm going to play a little bit of improv on it, and you can actually see the video from this on my recent YouTube release, which is my advice to jam session attendees. And it's a bit of a reaction video to the recent Smalls jam session a few weeks ago now. So if you get a chance, check that out. And also be aware that this past year, I've released a membership website, fretprince.com, and there we have sound slice, exercises, videos, live streams, printable lessons, and all sorts of things. So be sure to check that out. Okay, well, we'll play through this improv, and then we'll talk about the form and the chords and chord voicings and some things that you would need to negotiate these changes. In this tune, we have 12 measures. We start on a minor 1 chord, and then we quickly have a 2-5 to the 4 major. All right, and then we have, just as a summary, we have these 2-5s that eventually walk down to a 2-5 in our home key of C minor. So in a sense, this really follows a blues type progression, but it's quite a bit different in a lot of ways. In a typical blues, you have maybe let's say a standard blues, you might have a C7, dominant 7, and then the 4 chord would typically be F7 if that were the case. And then if we had a C, let's say C minor 7, or we were in C minor blues, then the 4 chord would typically land on a F minor. Also, the tune doesn't land right on the 1 chord in measure 11 either. It only comes around once you get back to the top of the form. So we have a minor 1 chord and a major 4 chord. So it's really interesting harmonically and as far as the form of it goes. And like I said, it only goes to the tonic once per the progression. So when improvising, it's nice because it just feels like it wants to keep going, keep moving, and cycling back to the C minor. Okay, so let's talk about the 1 chord a little bit. Here I'm playing C minor 6, and this works really nicely as a tonic minor type chord. We do have a B natural in the melody, so that suggests the chord of C minor major 7. Which has kind of a mysterious sound to it, I would say. So a scale to be aware of here is the melodic minor, C melodic minor. Now, when improvising, you don't necessarily have to stay within those 7 notes. You can move for sure outside of that. And also see if you can mix up your intervals a little bit, even if you're staying strictly inside of that scale. So maybe play a third, then a step, or half step. Mix in some different intervals, thirds, fourths, whole steps, half steps. So we set up that F chord. This is an F major 7 in position 8, middle 4 strings. We set this up with a 2-5. In F. So that would be a G minor 7 and a C7. So here we're working with secondary dominant F7, 5 of the 4 chord. So notice now we have E naturals, right? We still have that A that we were using with the C minor 6. So when improvising, it's also helpful to think about or be aware of what notes maybe are tending to remain the same and not change at all. But we can hear on that G minor, now we have a B flat. And that will resolve to the A natural, the 3rd of the F. Now, if you take a look at the circle of fifths, what we're going to end up doing is working in the key of 1 flat, key of F, key of 3 flats, key of E flat, key of 5 flats, D flat. So it's going every other key center around the circle of fifths. This is very similar to what happens on tune up. So essentially we end up on F, and then we have F minor. Now we're not really in the key of F minor, we're working in that key. We're working with this as a 2 chord. 2-5 to E flat, E flat. So F minor 7 to B flat 7 to E flat major 7. So it can be very similar to what you might play on F. You can essentially, if you're just getting started with this kind of thing, just move your shapes down 2 frets, right? So for example, you might play so then you can essentially play something similar maybe. But be aware, as we go through these key changes, durations can vary. All right, so now we're on E flat major. The chord goes to E flat minor, and this becomes another 2-5 in D flat major. So you can work at using a lot of the same material, moving down the neck by 2 frets. If you have a more thorough understanding of the guitar neck, then you can just move freely throughout the neck, just being aware of the changes as you go. And then finally, we get to a 2-5. Now here's kind of an interesting thing. You have the D flat major 7, right? If I'm in position 4 and I'm playing D flat major 7 on the middle 4 strings, like this, I can move finger 1 just 1 fret higher and keep those other 3 notes the same. We get D minor 7 flat 5. So now this is a 2 chord, but it's a different flavor of 2, and it's very common in minor. So we have a minor 7 flat 5. That goes to G7. Simplest way to negotiate this change is to play C harmonic minor over both of those chords. But you really need to hear that relative to these chords. So you want to be able to play around with maybe even just randomly mixing this up. On the D minor 7 flat 5, and then also the G7. And then we're going to land on the C minor again. As you play more and more tunes and you play maybe this tune for an extended period of time, let's say, um, you may want to develop more language on it. And one particularly good place to work at that is on the dominant sevens. So you can play all sorts of different things. It doesn't have to land strictly on your, Mixolydian mode or anything like that. You can do. So I'm back to a 5 of the F, right? So C. So I'm playing a flat 9 there. Okay, and that's just one example. You can do all sorts of things. You can do one thing, one chorus, and do another thing the next, or mix it up even in the course of a bar. So learn a little bit, maybe altered scale. For some of these changes as well. And those can be applied to a lot of these 5 chords. All right, folks. Well, there's a rundown of our tune for this podcast, Solar. I love this tune. I love playing over this tune. Check out Pat Metheny playing on this, or any number of folks playing on this. I'd say it's a pretty safe piece to call on a jam session, since that is our kind of theme of this week, and that brings up another little bit of a update on the channel, is that I'm adding an additional series here on question and answer, and a little bit of playing, and just talking about guitar and improvisation in sort of a casual setting, just sitting here in the studio. So hope you check that out. If you're watching this off of YouTube or listening to this off of YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now that we're starting a new year, just kind of getting over the holiday season, or not over it, but through it, should have these podcasts up more regularly. And these podcasts are available in video version to members of the YouTube channel, Lessons and Talks, members of the Substack, and of course members of the website fretprints.com. All right, folks, well, enjoy your practice session. I hope this helps. Something hopefully you can take in your car or anywhere, maybe even just listen to it, enjoy, maybe do some ear training as you go, and maybe stimulate some ideas and practice them later, or you can do some kind of off the guitar mental exercises of visualization on it. All right, folks, enjoy your practice session. I'll see you all in the next one.